Good morning, Deed Grabbers. It's Thursday. You know what that means. Time for Goat Talk. It's our weekly Facebook Live. So bring your questions. Share the link so your other investor friends can join us. We'll be back in 45 seconds. Morning, Deed Grabbers. Good to see you guys today. Let us know who you are, where you are, what kind of investing that you do. We put out a post this week in our $7 coaching group and asked, what would you like to talk about today on Goat Talk? And we got some responses. We're going to go over those today. What did you guys do this week? Gosh, Jodi and I got 2 houses under contract this week. One was actually a radio lead, believe it or not. We've been talking about radio a lot lately, and it's been performing really well for us. We can talk about that today if you guys have some questions. And the second one was a foreclosure lead. We door knock foreclosures and talked to those guys, and we talked to these people a couple of weeks ago, and we've stayed in contact with them, and they decided that they weren't going to list the property. The timeline's a little too tight. They're scheduled for auction in early April. So we got that thing signed up tonight. And Jodi's actually going out here in a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and get a deed from these people and have that in place because the situation is a little bit complicated. So if you're watching this morning, say good morning to me. Let me know I'm not on here by myself. So tell me, guys, a little bit about what you all did this week, and if you have any questions. If you're watching us on Facebook, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, sub2tv.com. We release new videos almost every single day on YouTube. Always something to help you with your real estate investing business. So if I don't get any questions here pretty quick, we're just going to start talking a little bit about some of the topics that were brought up in the $7 coaching group. So we'll do that and get started on that. What I did was I asked those guys over there, I said, hey, what would you guys like to talk about or hear about on this week's Goat Talk? Wes had a question. I would like to understand better how loan modifications, forbearance programs, and other loss mitigation programs affect the ability to take a loan subject to, if at all. He says he's specifically looking at a deal with a VA loan and a partial claim. Forbearance programs, other loss mitigations programs, and that sort of thing, if that's happened, it does not affect your ability to take that loan subject to. Now, we went through a period of time where investors would find loans that actually were a couple of years behind. Maybe they were $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 behind. They hadn't made a payment since before COVID. And it was really popular for a while to walk a seller through the loan modification process and then take subject to. But that can be a little bit dangerous depending on the type of loan that the seller has. A lot of loan modifications require the seller to actually sign a statement that they intend to continue to live in the property, they're not selling it, and that sort of thing. And if you encourage someone to do that, there's a potential for having a problem down the road. So you want to be really careful when doing that. If this loan doesn't, this loan mod doesn't require that, then sure, it's a possibility that you can get a loan mod and then take it over. But if the seller has already had a loan mod, and the deal that we signed up last night's a really good example of that. They were actually, they had a loan modification in October. They put $22,000. They hadn't made payments during COVID. They had a loan modification for, I think, $22,400 that was actually put on the back end of the loan, and still continued to not make any payments. So because of that, they started the foreclosure process. The lender did. So we're taking that over, and it doesn't really affect your ability to do that at all. So you can certainly feel free to do that. If it's already been done, if it's out of the way, then you're just going to come in. The process is really pretty much the same. Make sure that you're very clear on what the loan balance is. If the loan mod has a payment, or if it was truly put on the back end of the loan. There's a couple of the one that we actually did last night. We're in the due diligence process now, and that is a question whether or not they have a payment for that loan mod, or whether it was truly put on the back end of the loan. So, hey, Joyce, good to see you today. Amanda, good to see you from Utah today. Good to see you out there. I think Amanda actually had a question. Let's see. We got a question. I cannot join the meeting. Please direct message me on Facebook. Okay. All right, guys. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. We're going to just walk through the list that we've got here this morning. We actually are getting ready to head out of town for a bit. It's our anniversary, so we're going to take a trip. Jodi's planned a surprise trip for me. I don't have any idea where we're going this weekend. She's a much better secret keeper than I am, though. I planned a trip for her, but she knows where she's.
You just gotta tell me.
Yeah, I have to give it up.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know?
Oh, I know where we're going.
No, that's what you always say to me when you.
Yeah, you want to go? I'm so proud of myself when I plan a trip. So let's see. I think we've got a question. When you listen, and Facebook users, if you guys will go to, I think it's StreamYard.com/Facebook, we'll know who you are. We can call you by name. When you take over a sub-2, do you continue paying their real estate tax and insurance, or does the insurance and real estate tax get automatically recalculated under your name in the deed? If the loan that you're taking over, Facebook user, has an escrow, that escrow is going to continue. You're going to make the payments. You're going to pay the taxes and insurance. Now, the thing about an escrow is it's recalculated each and every year. And if your seller had an exemption, if they were a disabled veteran, if they are over a certain age in certain states and they don't have to pay school tax, which is a big part of property tax, if they have some type of exemption where they pay a lower tax or very little tax or no tax, and title changes, then that's probably, you can pretty much guarantee that's going to fall off and for next year when the new tax numbers come out. Your escrow is going to be adjusted. Your taxes are going to go up. It's very rare for them to go down. It happens occasionally, but not very often. And I think with most states looking for any way to recoup all of their losses from COVID, you can expect taxes to not go down anytime soon. But yes, you will continue to pay those same taxes. Your escrow will get a readjustment next year, and you'll find out what's your new tax bill. What we find most of the time, almost every time, is you will save money on your insurance. Homeowner insurance is usually higher than a landlord policy, which the vast majority of the time you're going to be getting on the property when you take over. It's going to cost less, so you will save some money on your insurance. At least that's what we find. Thanks, Amanda. Amanda said happy anniversary, and Facebook user the same. We appreciate that. So anyway, hope that helps. You generally your first year you're going to see an increase in your mortgage payment because of the tax adjustment. So anyway, that's just how it goes. Sean had a comment. He said, I'd like to learn more about purchasing sub-2 in a trust and an update on how your radio ads are performing. Also, any details about how you set up your business to run virtually out of the country like you did would be awesome. Well, gosh, that's a lot of questions there, Sean. That may take us a little bit. Purchasing sub-2 in a trust, that it seems to be really complicated for a lot of people. But the truth is, the trust, if you do it like we do, the trust is just the grantee on the deed. In the paperwork that you're going to fill out, the normal sub-2 stuff, that's going to be the only difference. You will have a trust document and some other things you have to do on the backside. But there's really not too much to buying in a trust. Understand how trusts work. And if you want an excellent trust course, you can go to sub2landtrust.com, SUB, the number 2, landtrust.com, and pick up one of those. Understand how trusts work, and then that's just your grantee on the deed that you're going to get from your seller. So um, we could get into a whole discussion on trust. We've done some past goat talks with Bill Bronchick was on here a few months ago. That's an excellent person to learn from. It's actually who I learned how to use trust from. So check that one out, and that'll help you a bunch on that. As far as the radio ads, I said something earlier. One of the deals that we got under contract this week was a radio lead, and it's we love radio, and I can see in the future where radio will be probably the only thing that we do. We were just talking about this the other day. Right now, we're still very involved in foreclosures. Just signed up a deal last night that's a foreclosure deal. I love foreclosures for a couple of reasons. These are, I tell people, if you want motivated sellers, go after leads that are people that have deadlines. These are people, they don't just want to sell. They're not just thinking about selling. Some people in foreclosure don't want to sell, but they have a definite date in time where a problem is going to really just come to fruition, if you will. They have drop dead dates is what we call them. And those are dates that a date in time that this situation's got to be taken care of one way or the other. So they're on a clock, and the date's right there in front of you. When we door knock and we talk to people, we've got the date written in the upper corner of the envelope that we leave. Here's our date that this thing has to be taken care of. And if you're in a state like Florida, in fact, I was talking to one of our students yesterday about Florida and foreclosures. Gosh, when you've got a year or more to work with that stuff, it's not as urgent as if you're in a state like perhaps Georgia, that's got less than 30 days, or even here in Arkansas. Most of the foreclosures that are filed here, they have 90 days or so, and that varies a little bit. But in general, it's 90 days. It's not a lot of time. So if I knock on a door and the auction is, 7 weeks away or 8 weeks away, then you're talking about somebody's got to take care of things. We like foreclosures for that reason. Radio ads are totally passive. You write a check once a month to the radio station. They run your ads for you. People that call you, in fact, I just got off the phone with a lady 5 minutes before I got on this morning. The ads run every day, Monday through Friday. You get calls throughout the day. And these people actually want to talk to you. If you have ever done texting very much, or just really cold outreach, that most of those people are not happy to talk to you. There's no indication of motivation, but these people call because they do have a situation. They want to sell their house. They need to sell their house. Doesn't matter if they're super motivated. They really, really want to speak to you. So that's a big plus. They're friendly conversations. Even if you can't help them, it's easy to say, like I told this lady this morning, she had an offer on this property, but they weren't going to be able to close as quickly as she wanted to take care of it. And I said, well, I can close, fast, but I can't pay that amount, so if you're stuck on price, I'm not your person. But if you want to sell it for less, we can definitely talk. And she's got a couple of things she's going to do, and maybe we'll talk again, maybe we won't. But the point is, she was excited to talk to me. She heard the commercial, and so she wanted to talk to us. So that's important. So I can see a point in the future where radio may be all that we do. Right now, we're running on 3 stations. We're very happy. We've closed 2 deals from radio ads. We've only been running. This is I think our 3rd month on one station and our 2nd month on another station. And we've closed 2. We've got another one under contract that I see no reason it won't close. It's not very complicated. So we're going to continue to do those. We love them. Last question, details how you set up your business to run virtually out of the country. I'm going to tell you, when I got started the first 12 years as an investor, I was what we call a transaction engineer. We did rentals, we did lease options, we did seller financing, we did some rehabs here and there, that sort of thing. But managing all those people and those different projects can be difficult when you're remote. What I found was that being remote meant I really wanted to really define and refine the process. And that's when I switched over to just doing pretty houses and just doing seller financing. What I tell people, and we've actually got an article at sub2deals.com on how to invest remotely. Go check that out, Sean. That would be good for you. It's pretty detailed. What I found was that an easy way to do it is to the next house that you buy locally, never go and see the house. Do everything hands off, either Zoom meetings with your seller or telephone calls. Use DocuSign or use a mobile notary to deliver your docs and get those taken care of, and just do everything as if it would be across the country or out of the country. If you can do that, then you're ready to do it from any place in the world. So it's really not that complicated. Let's see. What is the best way to learn how to get in the foreclosure side? Do you have a training for foreclosures? What would you recommend for someone that wants to learn how to invest in foreclosures? You know, almost every foreclosure that we buy is a sub-2 purchase. The only difference is the people you're dealing with. You're dealing with people that have a problem. So if you learn the sub-2 process, you're 3/4 of the way there. As far as the foreclosure side of the business, you need to know everything about how foreclosures work in your state. Is your state a judicial or non-judicial state? Judicial states, the foreclosure process tends to be much longer with more pieces to it. Non-judicial states, a faster process, a simpler process. Learn the timeline, the foreclosure timeline between the time that your foreclosure is filed in your state, typically how long until the actual auction happens. Find out if your state has foreclosure protection laws, which will affect how you have to deal with people in foreclosure. States like Washington, Colorado, I'm certain California do a lot of the more blue states will have a lot more of those laws. They also tend to be less landlord friendly and more tenant leaning. So check out your state. Do they have particular foreclosure protection laws? Some states, it affects how you can even contact people in foreclosure. In Colorado, you had to have a specific language in your sales agreement, and they even dictated the size of the font that particular language had to have. So learn everything you can about foreclosures. The best way to do that is if you have a local RIA, is to go there. A lot of times they'll have classes on that. Attorneys that do foreclosures, find out who those people are. A lot of times they'll have some education on those things. That is really the important thing. Otherwise, you're just dealing with someone. You're probably going to take the loan sub-2, and they're under pressure, so you've got a little bit tighter timeline. That's what I would do. We don't have a specific training on foreclosures because, like I said, the real difference is how things are handled in your state, and that varies. I mean, there are 50 states, so there are 50 different ways, 50 different variations on the law. So that's what I would do. Learn your state process, and then it's just talking to people. We do door drops. We knock on the door. We've got a package that we have. If they're not there, we leave it on the door. And if they're there and they answer the door, I'm just, hey, my name's William. I'm here today because, I understand the lender's trying to take your house. They've hired lawyers to help them do it. Is there something I can do to help? And when they say, what do you mean? How can you help me? Well, do you want to keep your house? Or are you interested in selling your house? And most people want to keep it. That's what they're going to say. So you make them aware of programs. Have you talked to your lender? That's the first thing. Are you talking to your lender? Because most of these people are afraid to have a conversation. They're not paying. They don't answer the phone. They don't reach out to anyone. That's the first step. If they're not talking to their lender, we'll help them with that. We'll get on the phone with them if needed. Most of the time it didn't come to that, but we encourage them to talk to their lender and try to work out something, a forbearance, a loan modification. We try to find out if those things would help them. Why did you get behind? What happened? Well, I lost my job. Well, do you have a job now where you can make your payments if the lender will work with you? Well, no, I still don't have a job. Okay. And then your job at that point is to switch over into, okay, well, if you don't have a job, Bob, they're probably not going to want to do a loan mod with you. You really need to start thinking about selling. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? If you can borrow the money to make up your arrears, you still can't make your payments. It's not really going to help you. Your job at that point is to try to make them see the situation for what it is and help them. So that's what we try to do. Let's see. Hope that helps. Facebook user, let us know who you are. Tell us your name. What's up, Tingles? It's Vince from Houston in New Orleans. Man, New Orleans is great. Jodi and I got married in New Orleans 3 years ago. Gosh, in just a couple of days now, huh? Yeah, how about that? Okay. Morning, Matt. Good to see you here today. What's that?
6 more days.
6 more days. Yeah, 6 more days to 3 years. How about that? So it's good to see y'all here. If you have any questions, let me have them. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go through our list here. Okay. Mark had a comment. He said, how many people are actually doing anything? And yeah, that's a really good question. What are you doing to actually talk to people, to get a deal under contract? What action have you taken this week? Have you talked to a radio station about running radio ads? Have you knocked on the door of someone in foreclosure? If you don't take some action, chances are you're not going to talk to the seller. You're not going to get anything done. So that's the first step in getting a deal, isn't it? Is actually talking to somebody who wants to sell their house. So what have you done this week to make that happen? Morning, John Bates. Good to see you over there in Oklahoma. Juan, good to see you this morning. Okay, let's see. This is Juan with the Facebook questions. Hey, Juan, good to see you. No, we didn't. Facebook is so much up in your business. You have to go to this special link. You can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click a button, and Facebook will let them show your name. Let's see. Tammy. Tammy's been super busy. Yeah, Tammy's one of our Sub-2 Max students. She posted a picture in the group yesterday, said they got run up a tree, I think, by some dogs. Some crazy seller let a Doberman out on her. But yeah, it's not like door knocking's not without risk. I'll tell you, I've been door knocking for over 20 years, and I've never, ever felt like I was in danger. I have approached houses before where I had a feeling that I shouldn't be hanging out there very long, but no one has ever threatened me. I've had people say, please don't come back. And I get it. And I say, hey, no problem at all. But you always have to be prepared. So I'm glad the dog didn't get you yesterday, Tammy. That's good to know. Matt says, how much does it cost to run radio ads? Matt, we did a Goat Talk and I think a podcast with Randy Thomason. Jodi always says I say his name wrong. But Randy is killing it in Little Rock. Randy's a super investor, and he got started doing radio, I think, 2 years ago now. But we've done a couple of shows, and we go into pretty specific detail. Radio ads, it varies. You want to get some stats from the radio station when you're negotiating with them. And then there's a specific formula, Matt, for how much you should be paying. Okay. And Randy gave me that formula. And when Jodi and I got to Northwest Arkansas, we said, we just want to take over this place. So we're going to do radio and bandit signs and foreclosures and some other stuff. So we did. And I was a motivated buyer. I was. One station I actually pay within the guidelines, I think. And we pay $5 an ad on that station. The other two, we pay more. But we really wanted to be on those stations. And I got to tell you, you just do the math, okay? I know there's a formula for what you should be paying, but we pay $5 a spot on one station, $10 a spot on a second station, and we pay $15 a spot on a third station. But it really comes down to the numbers, and we broke this down. I think in the Max group this past week, we have spent to date $7,500 on radio ads. Okay, that's our total expenditure on those. And of that, money in the bank, actual closed deals, the checks already cleared has been $76,000. So what's it? What that? And that's, I'm sorry, 10%. And that's I guess a fairly high KPI, but does it really matter? How many times would you spend $7,500 to get $76,000 back, Matt? That's what you have to ask yourself. We got another one under contract from radio, and that's not money in the bank, but and I don't usually like to talk about numbers beforehand. Don't know what the final profit will be, but we got a house under contract Sunday for $150, and we listed it for $250 as is, and don't know if we'll get that. We're just, that was based on market numbers, our realtors' estimation of value, and what we can probably get. But even if we sell it for $200, is that good enough? I'd say so. Anyway, that's how the numbers work right now. Let's see. Okay. Matt says that's cheap. I think so too. Like I said, how many times would you exchange $7,500 for $76,000? I do that many, many times. How many times do you? I think that's run a day, and that's a very specific. That's a very specific number too, Matt. I'll tell you this. I don't like to try to recreate the wheel. If someone is very successful with something, and they tell me this is what you should do, then I'm going to go out and try to do it. And that's what I did. Randy was running ads. He came to our mastermind talking about it and how successful it was for him. And we said, okay, we're just going to duplicate this. And he told me, he said, you want to be on from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. You want to run 100 ads a month. They're all 60-second spots. And you guys, I think I've played what I run now, which is 90% the same thing Randy does. We made a couple of little changes to it, nothing significant. But we run 25 ads a week. So we run about 5 ads a day typically. But that's it, man. It's not that complicated. Yeah, on each station. Now that's each station. That's our same form. We're on the exact same ad on every station. So if you're a channel flipper and you go for commercial comes at whatever, if you're a channel flipper, you're going to hear that same ad. You're going to hear William. You're going to hear, hey, this is William Tingle with Plan B Properties, and I buy houses cash. You're going to hear that on all the stations all day long. So that's what we do. What's that?
Simple formula.
Yeah, very simple formula. Yeah, Matt said I would do it all day. Yeah, make that exchange, that $7,500 for $76,000. Absolutely, we would too. Focus on older people radio stations. Well, why would you say that, Matt? What's older people? No, you do have a format that you're looking for. You're looking for classic rock and classic country, and talk radio is also an option. But talk radio is super, super, super expensive. We just haven't done that yet. We're on 2 classic country stations and 1 classic rock. So yeah, I guess it is old people. They listen to that glory days music. So that's what we do. Are you telling the seller how you're selling the house? Like you're looking for a renter? Or do you say anything at all to the seller? Uh, Generally, no. People don't usually care what you're doing. If it comes up, let's say, for example, the one we got under contract this weekend, um, we always get a power of attorney from our seller that gives us the right to list that house on the MLS if we want to. And that's what we did with this. Now, this was a radio lead, and they originally wanted 200,000 for their house, and the house is in really good shape. I mean, it needs very little, and just maybe paint, carpet, some things like that. It's not a whole bunch that it needs. But they came down. We went out, met with them, gave them a cash price offer and a couple of different seller financing options with different down payment amounts. And he called us while we were on the way back home and said, "I'll take 150 if we can do it." So even though this could be a cash deal and a moneymaker, we took it subject to their existing financing. It's pretty sizable cash payment that has to be made to them. They only owe about $80,000 on their mortgage. So they're looking for about 70,000, but he's retiring. They're going out on the road. They've just bought an RV and they just want to get out, and they're anxious to do that right now. They don't want the uncertainty of listing it, not knowing how long it'll be listed. In that case, we said, yes, we're going to be looking for an end buyer. And this gives us the right to list the property. So they were okay with that. But generally, it doesn't come up. Now, the foreclosure that we got under contract yesterday, all we said was we will be making up the back payments, and they're behind about $9,000 or $10,000. And then we're just going to take over the payments. They generally just don't care. And that's a big thing with investors, especially newer ones. They just give out too much information. Your job there is to ask some fact-finding questions about the seller situation, of course. Then you need to know what they owe, if they're behind on payments, how much they're behind, that sort of thing. But your job is also not to give out too much information. If they have questions, answer them. And if someone asks me, what are you going to do with a house, we'd certainly tell them. But in general, they're just not looking to find out that sort of stuff. They have a problem. They want you to solve it. They don't really care how you do it. Can we hear the ad again? I missed it last time. I don't know if Jodi can cue that up for us. We might do that. I don't know. Let me see. You'd think you'd want to be on weekends. No, Matt, the thinking for that is you're looking for people who have jobs that own houses. And that's one reason that you don't advertise on the teeny bopper stations, the pop stuff, the rap stations, the things like that. Most young people that listen to that stuff still live at home, or they're young and they're renters and things like that. You want to listen to people. You want people listening to you that own houses, that have jobs, and you're trying to catch them during the work hours, when they're driving to work, when they're driving home, or they're out. Maybe they drive a truck, whatever. That's the times that you want to listen to them. So that's what the way of thinking is on that. So you're giving them 70 cash for their equity. Yes, sir, Vincent, we are. Think about this for a minute. Well, of course, now if we get a contract and we do a double closing, we won't have to come out of pocket for that. But even if we do have to,
this is William Tingle with Plan B Properties, and I buy houses cash.
You want me to keep going?
Well, give me a second.
Okay,
back off of that for
start.
a second. That was a little shocking there. I don't know. Let me get rid of that. Well, I don't know. You know what you're doing over there, so I'm going to let you handle this.
There.
Okay. Man, you got to be careful who your producer is, because they do all kind of stuff here. But anyway, so yes, we are. But even if we have to write them a check, it's less than half of what we would have to do a double close anyway. If we didn't agree to take it sub 2, we would have to write a check for the full 150 for a few minutes. And this way, it's just half. I don't know. If I can take over payments, I want to do it. So that's just the way we set it up. And if this guy gets his 70, he doesn't care about that loan. He just does not care. We said, we'll write you a check for 70. We'll take over the payments. He said, fine, I don't care. He couldn't sign the paperwork fast enough to get it done. He wants 70 to get on the road in his new RV, and that's it. So without buying, yeah, he's done. And there are other options. I mean, what if we don't sell this house on the MLS? And I think we will. We've only been live 24 hours, and we've already had 2 showings. I don't know. I mean, we may have a contract now. I just don't know about it yet. But we've got plenty of room there to drastically cut the price if we need to, and still come out. So I think that we're going to have a buyer before we have to close without any trouble. So okay. So you guys want to hear the commercial? So I guess we'll play that.
Okay.
You got it?
I think it's just going to start.
Okay.
Call me today at 479-888. Hi, this is William Tingle with Plan B Properties, and I buy houses cash. Call me today at 479-888-2525. I'll buy your house for cash and pay your closing costs. I buy houses in any price range, in any location in the Northwest Arkansas area. Do you own a house that needs thousands of dollars in repair? Great, because I love buying fix-up houses. Do you owe too much and can't sell it with a realtor? I can buy your house and close when you want to close. Do you have a paying or non-paying tenant living in your property? Not a problem. I'll buy your house even with that tenant in it. Are you in foreclosure or forbearance and don't see a way out? No problem. We have a special program just for you. We have the solution to your real estate problem. It doesn't matter what your situation is, we can help. Remember, if you need fast cash, I'll pay you cash and close quickly to get money in your hands. Let us be your plan B. Call me today at 479-888-2525. That's 479-888-2525. Okay,
so that's it. Nothing magical at all about it. It's just a script. Randy gave it to me. We copied about 90% of it, and people call.
I just added the video.
Yeah. My producer created a video so we could put that on our YouTube channel, and I don't know if we'll ever do TV or not, but it would probably. I don't know. That was pretty good production, though. So you guys tell me what you think about that, and copy it. Randy didn't have a problem with us pretty much copying his. So anyway, if you guys have some questions, let me have them. We're gonna get out of here pretty quick this morning. We've got to go. Well, I don't know. Jodi's supposed to go and meet this girl and get a deed from her this morning, and we got to get ready to get out of town. So. See. Love those special effects. Yeah, I know, man. She's great. She does a lot of it. She did the intro video, the outro for Goat Talk for us. She did our podcast stuff. She is amazing, so, for sure. So when you say you're selling on MLS, the buyer will be a conventional buyer, not a seller finance buyer. In this case, no. I don't want a seller finance buyer for this house. We're putting too much money in it. Now, if we were, giving the seller $10,000 or $15,000 and taking over their payments, yes, we would look for a seller finance buyer through the MLS. This will probably just be a flip, just because there's a significant cash investment from us in it that we wouldn't recoup from a buyer. So yeah, we're looking for an end buyer or an investor. This house is actually on the lake. It's water view. It's got a big, nice deck on the back where you can see the lake. So, I mean, this is a potential Airbnb for an investor. And I'm not sure who has looked at it. We've just been so busy. We were with that seller last night, so we didn't get a chance to talk to our agent about the showing last night. And I'm not sure what time the showing's supposed to happen this morning. I think at 11. So it's not happened yet, to get some feedback on what they're thinking. But, yeah, we're looking for a conventional buyer for this one for sure. Great ad. You like my radio? Yeah, I know. It fits in real well here in Arkansas. We talked about getting Jodi to do the ad, but I don't know. I don't know how that would. I don't know, man. The Civil War still going on down here, so I don't know if that would work. Yes, it is, man. It is very simple, and that's really what most investors should take away from. And actually, I think I've got one of your questions on here to talk about this morning. Keep it simple. You're just talking to people. And that's all we want to get across in that ad. Do you have a house that you need to sell? we can probably figure out a way to do it, to work with you, if you're open to, some outside the box thinking there. What happens if you can't sell it? Do you back out? Well, why would I do that, Vincent? I've got a house for 150 that's got about a $600. I don't even think it's six. I can't remember. Maybe a $600 a month payment on it. Worst case scenario, I sell this house with seller financing for $250, and get a $1,500, $1,700 a month payment on it, and have over $1,000 a month in cash flow. I'll probably get 25,000 down. So let's see. Let's see the very worst case scenario. I can't sell it on the MLS. I sell it to a seller finance buyer. Lake house, great condition, nice view. I sell it for $250. I get $25,000 down of my 70. So I'm into the house now for what, $45,000. I get over, let's just say $1,000 a month in cash flow. So 12 months at $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 on my 45,000 in it. That's better than that's better, 25% cash on cash return. That's not too bad. And then consider the fact that I'll collect that kind of cash flow for a few years, and then I'll cash out and collect 80,000 or so on the back end. That's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. I mean, that's my worst case scenario. I can live with that. The key is finding a truly motivated seller. That's right. And motivation comes in a lot of ways. These people in this house that I'm talking about, the lake house, they're not in trouble. They're not behind on payments. This guy's retiring in a couple of months. He's bought an RV. I mean, it's sitting in his yard every day, and all he can think about is getting in that thing and hitting the road. So he dropped his price 25% in a few hours, and probably would have gone a little lower, but it was a super fair price, and so we took it. We're solving his problem. We're going to make a great deal. Somebody else will get a really good deal. So it just works for everybody. Would you consider turning it into a rental or Airbnb? No, Vincent, I would not. I'm not a landlord, and I'm telling you, Airbnbs to me are just 100x landlording. I know there's a lot of you people out there that do a great job with it, and you make a ton of money, but that ain't me. I'm just not into that. Okay. What were the different offers you presented to the seller? I presented this guy 3 different offers. I offered him $140 in cash, which isn't much off of what we bought it for, really. But he said no to that. And I offered him $180 with seller terms, and I can't remember the down payment. I want to say it was probably $10,000 or $12,000 down, take over his payments, and then make a small payment to him on his equity. And then we offered him his asking price. We try to always offer them their asking price in a terms deal that works for us. And then we offered him $200 with a very small down payment, probably less than $5,000. Take over his payments and then make an equity payment to him. So, but I do know his payments were $140 cash, $180 with terms, and then $200 with terms. Those were his offers. And he said no to the $140 cash, but then he called and said he would do the $150. So we came back and said, I think we found a way to do this. We'll give you your equity in cash and we'll take over the payments on your note. And he said, I don't care. That's fine. He just wanted that chunk of money to get out on the road. So I think that was his motivation. And I think we could have countered and got it. But like I said, it was a very fair deal. I'm very, very confident we'll sell this house for cash for over $200. So I'm happy with that. When you take creative finance, I'm thinking when you take cash flow, I'm not sure what that is, Juan. From an owner finance sale, is that considered passive or active income? If you're talking about cash flow from a seller finance deal, I don't know what the technical term would be on that. I'm not an accountant, but one, that's pretty passive to me. That's money that I'm just going to get. As far as the technical term, you better ask your tax person on that. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to that. I just know that seller financing for me is the most passive thing out there. Vincent says, true. I have a few Airbnbs myself, and if I made them 30 days, much less headache, they do make way more cash flow. Well, they have to, Vincent. I mean, that's the offset that you get for all the extra stuff that you have to do. So, really, I think it's the point you're at in your life, and how much hassle you want to have. Things that are more trouble typically are going to make you more money, because people don't want to do that stuff. It's a lot of trouble. Things that are very simple. The only exclusion to that rule I found is seller finance. Seller finance lets you make really good cash flow, and that is because you negotiated a really good deal, or some really good financing, some really good terms that allow you to do that. So the negotiation part's not hard for me. I don't have a problem talking to people if they're open to doing something, if they're motivated. And don't confuse motivation with desperation. There are a lot of desperate people. We run into desperate people all the time. The lady that I talked to before I got on this call today sounded desperate on the phone. I didn't have much time to talk to her because we were starting this up in a few minutes. But she's got 15 acres with a mobile home on it in Missouri, in South Missouri. And she's got an ex-husband that they've been fighting. Apparently, this is jointly owned property, and they've been divorced for a couple of years. And she said it's an ongoing battle, and she just wants to be totally separated from any dealings with him. So she sounded pretty desperate. And I think she would probably take less than what she's been offered if she could close quickly. But we didn't have much time to go into the conversation. But there are a bunch of people that are motivated by a lot of different things. They don't have to be desperate. So with the cash offers, you were basically wholesaling it. Sometimes lately, that's been some of the deals that we've gotten. So I'm not opposed to wholesaling. Our first wholesale deal up here, we made over $70,000. I was pretty happy with that. But yes, we're basically wholesaling this house. We got it under contract for a price. We got a power of attorney so we could list it. We're listing it, and we're trying to sell it for a higher price. That's what we're doing. Let's see. Most sellers I talk to are scared about still having their name on the mortgage. How do you put them at ease about leaving the mortgage in their name? What are they scared of, Vincent? Why are they afraid? What are they saying to you? Are they saying, how do I know you'll make the payments? What I have found works best with sellers in those situations. You see a lot of investors that'll just hem and haw around like, well, I would not make it, or you be brutally honest with those people. You don't know if I'll make the payments, but this is what I'm telling you. Let's take this example of this deal that we're doing with the lake house guy. If he had said to me, well, how do I know you'll make the payments? I'd have said, you don't. A big indicator that I'm going to make them is $70,000 I'm going to put in your hand. Why in the world would I give you $70,000 and fail to make the payments on the loan? That's just not going to happen. And you don't have to give them $70,000 to use that approach. Let's take the foreclosure that we're going to buy that we got under contract last night. If I'm going to hand $10,000 to the bank to make it up, I'm going to spend a little bit of money cleaning this house up and maybe making some repairs. The seller's not getting any money in this deal. There's nothing there for them. But I'm going to use, you don't know that I'll make the payments, but I am going to write the bank a check for $10,000. I am going to spend time and money cleaning this house up, cleaning it out, getting it ready to market. I'm not going to put money into this and then not make the payments. That's not a very good investment. I've been an investor for 24 years, and I can't make money doing that sort of business. But that first comment is really, they're not expecting it, and I think they appreciate the honesty. You don't know that I'll make the payments, but here are the best signs that I will. So that's what I like to do with sellers. I like to give them an answer to the question that they're not expecting, and then show why that's not likely to happen. So what are your sellers saying to you? Why are they afraid? Are they afraid they can't buy another house? Well, that's a possibility. But again, depending on what your questions are, you're going to address that stuff. They say, how about if you don't make the payments and I get my house back all trashed and messed up? Well, Mr. Seller, you're not going to get your house back. Again, you go straight into that. If you're giving them money, listen, I'm making an investment here. If we put somebody in the house that tears it up, that's our problem. Okay. We have to fix it. We own this thing now. If you've been doing this for a while, you can go back to references that you have or testimonials that you have from other sellers that you've helped. If you're working with attorneys, title companies, real estate agents, if you have relationships with those people, references from those people can help you at that point. Just be very upfront, very honest with them to reassure them that that's not going to happen. So a lot of sellers, I'll tell you this, both of these sellers from this week, and one is a radio ad that's not in trouble. One is in foreclosure with really no hope of bailing that out. Neither one of those people said a thing about being uncertain about me making the payments. They don't care. They just don't care. And this is one person, okay, in foreclosure, you might say, well, that's common. But what about this other person? They've been making payments on this house for 12 years. This is the original loan from when they bought their house. They didn't ask about it. They got, I guess, a rapport with us. They didn't feel like it was going to be a problem. And then we're making a pretty substantial down payment too. So they felt comfortable with that. Or they say, can I buy another house if this one's still on my credit? Well, my answer to that is maybe. I don't know your credit score. I don't know your debt to income ratios. I don't know if you're going to go out tomorrow and get a $1,500 a month car payment on some new big fancy car. There are a lot of factors that impact whether or not you'll be able to buy another house with this one still on your credit report. What I can tell you is I'm going to make on-time payments each and every month. That's going to enhance your credit rating. Now, the other things, your job history, your debt to income ratios, I can't, predict what that'll be like in a couple of years when you go to buy a new house. What I can tell you is we'll make on-time payments. This will get you at least a 75% wash on your debt to income, just like you rented the house out. The rest of it's going to be up to you and your lender. Okay. I can try to direct you to some lenders who understand creative finance and what we're doing and see if that'll assist you, but I can't guarantee you'll be able to buy another house. If that's that big, and I've heard these questions over the years. And I've also heard my attorney said not to do this. My real estate agent said not to do this, and then them do the deal anyway. So I think a lot of times people ask questions just to see what your response will be. Just be honest with them. Be brutally honest. I love the question, what'll happen if you don't make the payments? Anybody want to guess what my answer is to that? What if you don't make the payments? Right. Jodi just said it. She knows because she's heard me say it. Mr. Seller, if I don't make the payments on this, your credit is fried. It is toast. Having a foreclosure or having a mortgage loan not being paid is the absolute worst thing on your credit report. That's what'll happen if I don't make your payments. But I'm going to make them. This is why. Either that you reference the down payment, the investment that you're making, whatever you're doing, your history, how many years you've been doing this, your references. Again, you throw in something out there, they're not expecting to hear from you. And I think people appreciate that. How long does the 75% take to take effect? That's right away, Vincent. If you own a house and you get transferred across the country and you can't sell your house for whatever reason, so you rent it out, you get to your new location next month, you go out and fill out a mortgage application. They're going to ask you, this house is on your credit. Oh, yeah, that's a rental now. I get X a month for it. And they're going to give you that credit right away. Now, if Andrew's on here, he may be able to come in and talk about this. I've heard several people comment more recently, the last year or two, that after 12 months now, a lot of lenders will give 100% credit. Is that true? Again, that's lender specific. Okay. I don't know what happens with a lot of my sellers after they move on because a lot of our sellers are distressed. I don't know about them, trying to buy a home later. We've had a few cases where they've contacted us later and said, hey, we're trying to buy a house. We need some documentation showing what happened. So we'll provide the HUD if they don't have it. We'll provide, a payment history, whether that's wires or canceled checks or whatever it may be, to the new lender. We'll explain what happened. We took over Bob's payments. We bought his house subject to his loan, and we've been making the payments for the past 2 years. What do you need? And we can provide that stuff. But your 75%, you'll get that right away. You haven't been making them already. Okay, I'm not sure. Oh, in the case of foreclosure, right. You're never going to hear that from someone in foreclosure. They're never going to ask you, how do I know you'll make the payments? They're never going to ask you that. They know. They haven't made the payments in some cases. This house that we got under contract last night, they haven't made a payment in 2 years. They just came out of a forbearance 4 months ago. So they didn't make the payment for 2 years. They got $22,000, put in a modification on the back end, and hadn't made a payment since that came out in October. So they're not worried about that at all. Anyway.
They thought they didn't need to.
They what?
They thought they didn't need to make that payment.
Yeah, they thought they didn't need to make it. Right. Okay. Let's see. Amanda. We said we were going to get to Amanda's question. We got a few minutes. We want to make sure we do that. Learning how to bring up the subject of creative finance when talking to a seller and agent. I get tongue-tied and nervous. Let me tell you this, Amanda. You make this just a normal part of doing business. I'll tell you, when I get a call from a seller, radio, however they found me, bandit sign, doesn't matter. When I get a call from a seller, I ask as many questions as I can to get their story. Your offer is almost always going to be in their story. You're going to find out how motivated they are. You're going to find out why they need to sell. You're going to find out how much they need, how much cash they're expecting to walk away with, if any. You're going to find out all those things in your discussion. It's learning how to get information, how to talk to sellers, the right questions to ask. And my conversation with just a typical seller, not in foreclosure, but just a typical caller, is going to be, listen, Mr. Seller, we can buy your house one of a couple of different ways. One's an all cash offer that's probably going to make you cry. And I tell them that's exactly what I say. I said, my all cash offer is probably going to make you cry, but I can probably get very close to what you want and maybe even pay you exactly what you want if you're open to terms. And a lot of times I'll hear, what's terms? Well, okay, if I've talked to Joe or Bob, if I've talked to them and I know that they need, maybe in my conversations, I've learned that they need $10,000 right now for something specific, then my offer may be, I can pay the $200,000 for your house. I can give you $10,000 down if you're able to take payments after that, moving forward for a certain period of time. Okay, and they may say, well, tell me more about that. Okay. I don't mention creative finance at all. I throw out a couple of options for them, okay? Based on what I heard in the conversation that they need, I give them an offer that solves their problems and it'll allow me to make a profit. And those are the two things that I want to do. I want to help them and I want to make money, okay? And that's why I do what I do. I'll even say, listen, Mr. Seller, I'm an investor and we do what we do to make a profit. As evil as that sounds, that's what we do. And I had to point out to a guy the other day, he said, well, I want $200 for my house. You can probably sell it for $250 and make money. And I said, well, let's walk through that scenario, Mr. Seller, how that'll work. I said, if I pay $200 for your house and pay closing cost, I'm going to have, Jodi's leaving. She's going to meet the seller, so she's out of here. If I pay $200 for your house, I'm going to have some closing costs. Let's say that I have $205 in this house. Now I'm going to have to do a couple of things to your place. You say your house is in great condition, and I believe you, but my buyer is probably going to want an inspection, and they're always going to find a few things wrong with the house. So let's say I spend another $5, maybe touching this up or replacing this or that. So I've got $210 in your house right now. Now I'm going to list your house for sale because I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a very good marketer. So I'm going to list your house for the value of $250. And I'm probably going to pay somewhere between 8 and 10% total cost to sell this house. I've got to pay agents' commissions. I've got to pay buyers' concessions. I've got to pay closing costs. So I'm going to pay $25,000 out of that $250 to get your house sold. So now I'm at $225 profit. I've got $210 in your house. I've got a $225 profit, and that's if everything works perfectly. And by the time I got there, he said, "That's not really worth it, is it?" And I said, "No, it's not. I can't do all that work for $15,000. So he understood right away, and we're still in conversation with this guy right now. So sometimes you just have to point out the obvious to them. And if you do it right, they understand what you're talking about. I don't make a secret of the fact that I'm an investor, and I'm not going to be able to pay what an owner or occupant will be able to pay. I just can't do it. Before you explain terms, you still need to find out if they have a mortgage, right? Well, that's one of the questions we ask, Vincent. If they'll mention something, and a lot of times they'll just mention it, but if they don't, we'll say, okay, I'm assuming there's probably financing on this house. And most of the time, 90% of the time, they'll say yes or no. And you have, do you know about what the balance might be on that? And most of the time they'll give it to you. Sometimes you'll hear, why does that matter? And I'll say, well, Mr. Seller, we've got a few different ways we can buy. And having some details lets us formulate the very best offer and pay the most that we can for your house. So do you want me to make an offer? It's very rare that they say that's none of your business or they won't tell you. And I got to tell you, almost 100% of the time, I'm looking at their mortgage balance anyway, because I got PropStream open and I know what they owe. I know when they bought the house. I know a lot more than they're telling me. So anyway, that's how we do it, guys. For the deal you got now, how come he can't sell it on the MLS? Who says he couldn't? Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he didn't want to deal with an agent himself. You know what? When we met with them and said, I think we found a way we can pay this $150. We're going to give you cash for your equity. We're going to take over your payments. And he said, okay, that's great. And I said, and we're going to need a power of attorney so we can list this house because we're going to be looking for our buyer right now. The agent's probably going to call you. They're going to want to show the house. Is that okay? He said, that's fine. He didn't care. I don't know why he couldn't. Why you can't, put yourself inside a seller's mind. It just, you never know why people do what they do or why they, he called me. He heard the ad. His wife actually called. She heard the ad. She called. We went out, met with him, had a great meeting, a lot of rapport. I made him an immediate offer. We were driving. He said no. We were driving back home. He called and said, I'll take $150. I don't know why he did it. Why didn't he take $140? All cash. If you have a mortgage, would you rather have $150? Would you rather have $140 and have your mortgage taken care of, or $10,000 more and let me take over your payments? I don't know why people do what they do. We just offer what works for us. And if they say good, we say yay. That's it, guys. We got to get out of here. We got some work to do, and I get to leave in the morning and go on my vacation. I'm taking. I don't know where I know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. But then Monday we're leaving. I'm taking my bride to Hawaii for our anniversary. So we're going out there. Are you ever concerned about making an offer on a house you haven't seen yet? I'm gonna tell you, Juan, I have made hundreds of offers on houses I never saw personally. But I had I'll make the offer based on what the seller tells me. I trust them. Most of the time, these are sub-twos. There's very little money involved. But you can bet during the due diligence process, an agent or a field inspector or someone is going to come out, shoot some video, take a bunch of pictures. I've got a big list of pictures, very specific ones that I want taken. So we're absolutely going to do that. I'll make an offer on a house I haven't seen, but I'm not going to close on one that I don't know everything about. Okay. Well, Vincent, thank you, man. We appreciate you showing up today. We appreciate all of you guys for coming out and joining us every Thursday. We probably won't be here next Thursday. Next Thursday, I'm going to be on the beach or climbing Diamond Head or at the Dole Plantation or doing something cool out there. So I'm not sure. I don't know if we'll be here or not. But if we're not, we'll be back. And hope you guys are having a fantastic week. So get out there today, talk to some sellers, make some offers, buy some houses. So you guys have a great week, and we'll see you soon.